I call this meeting of the Upshur County Commission order. We'll begin with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. You've already distributed the minutes. Read, sing.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Jay.
The County Commission of Upshur County, West Virginia held their regular meeting at the Courthouse Annex on Thursday, March 26, 2015, at 9 a.m. J.C. Rafferty called the meeting to order. There were present J.C. Rafferty Commissioner, Troy Grady Commissioner, Terry Cutright Commissioner, Terry Wallace, County Administrator, and Jacqueline Nicklock, the Secretary. The meeting began with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All motions passed unanimously unless otherwise stated. After reading of the minutes, on motion by Terry Cutright, seconded by Troy Grady, the Commission approved the regular meeting minutes of March 19, 2015 as submitted. After discussion on motion by Troy Grady, seconded by Terry Cutright, the Commission approved the budget for the fiscal year 2015-2016. J.C. Rafferty reviewed correspondence from the Upshur County Development Authority requesting approval of a $40,000 donation in lieu of the appropriated $56,625 principal and interest payment allocated for the WVARNG project bond in the fiscal year 2015 budget. The UCDA agrees to assume full responsibility for the remaining balance of the principal and interest payment due on May 15, 2015. After discussion on motion by Terry Cutright, seconded by J.C. Rafferty, the Commission approved the request. J.C. Rafferty reviewed correspondence from Mr. and Mrs. Guy Jericho concerning their request for removal of the Slater Lane road name designation and waived the $272 fee. No action was taken. After discussion on motion by Terry Cutright, seconded by Troy Grady, the Commission approved and authorized the President to sign correspondence to the West Virginia Board of Veterinary Medicine regarding certified animal euthanasia technician training for Daniel Boone, Animal Control Officer. After discussion on motion by Terry Cutright, seconded by Troy Grady, the Commission approved the employment of Tabitha Perry as Assistant County Administrator effective April 13, 2013 at the annual salary of $40,000. After discussion on motion by Troy Grady, seconded by Terry Cutright, the Commission approved Lisa Sevier as full-time Deputy Assessor effective April 13, 2015 at the rate of $11 per hour as recommended by Helen Phillips, Assessor. Carrie Wallace requested to postpone action on agenda item number 7 till after meeting with Micah Harris, Community Corrections Director at 11 a.m. After discussion on motion by Troy Grady, seconded by Terry Cutright, the Commission approved the advertisement/job posting for the temporary part-time groundskeeping positions. The part-time position is for seasonal personnel for 19.5 hours per week for no more than 120 days. Applications must be received on or before the close of business on Friday, April 3, 2015. Carrie Wallace requested to postpone action on agenda item number 9 until after meeting with Micah Harris, Community Corrections Director at 11 a.m. J.C. Rafferty reviewed the following for your information items. Number 1, correspondence from Helen Phillips, Assessor, announcing the employment of Venus Drummond as full-time data entry clerk and office assistant effective April 13, 2015. Ms. Drummond's salary will be paid from the revaluation fund. 2, correspondence from Governor Earl Ray Tomlin announcing a Records Management and Preservation Board grant award in the amount of $10,000 to provide improvements for the Upshur County Circuit Clerk's office. 3, Lewis Upshur Animal Control Facility Adoption Financial Transactions, February 2015. 4, agendas and/or notice of meetings. 5, meeting minutes. 6, meetings as listed. 7, appointments needed or upcoming as listed. Terry Wallace advised that she will be out of the office on Tuesday, April 7, 2015, and will be sending out the meeting agenda for the April 9 Commission meeting on Monday, April 6. Ms. Wallace requests that agenda items be forwarded to her by 12 p.m. on Monday, April 6. The Commission recessed at 9:25 a.m. The Commission reconvened at 9:30 a.m. Bill Durante, President of the Community Emergency Response Team, appeared before the Commission and provided background and data about the mission of CERT. The volunteer organization assists the Office of Emergency Management in matters of disaster preparedness and relief and community events. CERT members and other volunteers were recognized for their efforts during the recent winter storm, Thor, with certificates of appreciation. The CERT team, Bill Nicholson, Julie Sterling, Rose Clutter, and Gilbert Valdez received certificates. Burl Smith and Joyce Harris Thacker, Upshur County Solid Waste Authority representatives, and Callie Sams, West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection representative, appeared before the Commission and provided information concerning April 2015 community cleanup events. Ms. Sams provided information on Adopt a Spot and Adopt a Highway programs, and Mr. Smith provided information on upcoming community recycling and trash disposal events. Joyce Harris Thacker read the April 2015 Make It Shine Month proclamation, which designates the month of April 2015 as Make It Shine Month in Upshur County, and encourages all citizens to participate in Adopt a Highway, Adopt a Spot, and activities which promote a clean environment. Joyce Harris Thacker, Upshur County Family Resource Network Director and spokesperson for the Upshur County Partners in Prevention, reviewed statistics relating to child abuse and sexual and domestic violence and extended an invitation to the Commission to attend the Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention and Awareness Luncheon on April 16, 2015 at the Chapel Hill United Methodist Church. Erin Matz, Women's Aid and Crisis Representative, reviewed the Sexual Assault Awareness Month proclamation, which promotes awareness and prevention of the increasing incidence of sexual violence in Upshur County and nationwide. After discussion on motion by Terry Cuthbert, second by Troy Brady, the Commission approved and authorized the Commission to sign the proclamation designating April 2015 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Upshur County. Tracy Schroyer Carlisle, Mountain Cap Child Advocacy Center representative, reviewed the Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month April 2015 proclamation, which encourages Upshur County residents' support and participation in preventing child abuse. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, second by Terry Cuthbert, the Commission approved and authorized the Commission to sign the proclamation designating April 2015 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month in Upshur County. Mary Austin, Director of Lewis Upshur Department of Health and Human Resources, reviewed the Children's Memorial Flag Day April 2015 proclamation, which memorializes children and teenagers who die violently each year and encourages citizens to become involved in the prevention of child abuse and neglect. After discussion on motion by Terry Cuthbert, seconded by Troy Brady, the Commission approved and authorized the Commission to sign the proclamation designating April 25, 2015 as Children's Memorial Flag Day in Upshur County. Commissioners and Partners in Prevention representatives participated in the raising of the Children's Memorial Flag ceremony in the courtyard. The Commission recessed at 10:30 a.m. The Commission reconvened at 11 a.m. Micah Harris and Rodney Robinson, community corrections representatives appeared before the commission to discuss staffing issues. On motion by Terry Cutright, second by Troy Grady, the commission entered executive session at 11 a.m. Present were J.C. Rafferty, Troy Grady, Terry Cutright, Terry Wallace, Micah Harris, and Raleigh Rollinson. The commission returned to open session at 11:07 a.m. No decisions were made in executive session. After discussion on motion by Troy Grady, second by Terry Cutright, the commission approved the resignation of Ashley Brooke Ware as legal assistant in the office of the prosecuting attorney effective April 3, 2015. After discussion on motion by Terry Cutright, second by Troy Grady, the commission approved the advertisement/job posting for the full-time position of legal assistant in the office of the prosecuting attorney. Applications must be received on or before the close of business on Tuesday, April 7, 2015. After discussion on motion by Terry Cutright, seconded by Troy Grady, the commission waived advertising/job posting for the position of full-time case manager for community corrections. The commission approved all invoices for payment. The commission approved all vacation orders. The commission approved the following settlements as listed. The commission approved the following exonerations and/or refunds as listed. The commission recessed at 12 p.m. The commission reconvened at 1 p.m. James Powell, Loudon Insurance Agency representative, appeared before the commission and provided an overview of services/insurance alternatives offered by his company for personal property. Mr. Powell's presentation did not include health insurance options. After discussion on motion by Troy Grady, second by Terry Cutright, the commission approved Terry Wallace to follow up with the preparation of a letter of intent to investigate other insurance options to be sent to West Virginia County's risk pool. The letter is a required 90-day notification to the current carrier in case change is made and does not obligate Upshur County to make a change. Steve Rollins, West Virginia County's risk pool representative, will appear at next month's meeting. With no further business, on motion by Terry Cutright, seconded by Troy Grady, the commission meeting adjourned at 1:50 p.m.
Thank you, Jackie. Are there any minutes are there any corrections or additions to the minutes as read? We have that second. Each one separately. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Can you please read the minutes of the March 31st special meeting, Jackie?
The County Commission of Upshur County, West Virginia, held a special meeting at the Courthouse Annex on Thursday, March 31, 2015 at 2:30 p.m. J.C. Rafferty called the meeting to order. There were present J.C. Rafferty, Commissioner, Troy Grady, Commissioner, Terry Cutright, Commissioner, and Terry Wallace, County Administrator. The meeting began with a moment of silent meditation and prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All motions passed unanimously unless otherwise stated. After discussion on motion by Terry Cutright, second by Troy Grady, the commission approved and authorized the president to sign the court security grant for fiscal year 2015-2016 in the amount of $4,025. With no further business, on motion by Terry Cutright, second by Troy Grady, the commission meeting adjourned at 2:35 p.m.
Thank you again, Jackie. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes as read? If not, I would request a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Our first meeting today, first appointment will be at 10:30 when we have Mr. Jim Salt, a Upshur County resident, to appear before the commission. Prior to that, we'll go through the items for discussion, action, or approval. First item is approval and signature of National Service Day proclamation proclaiming April 7, 2015 as National Service Recognition Day. Is there a motion to approve the signature of that proclamation?
I'll move to approve that.
Is there a
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is approval and signature of groundskeeping contract with Sam's Lawn and Garden in the amount of $17,790 effective immediately. And Carrie, would you just give a slight overview as to what that particular contract entails?
Sure. This contract went out to bid last month. You already accepted this bid in an open meeting. It was the least amount of all that were submitted, and this is just the contract to enter into the agreement with this company. They had signed it on March 24th.
Thank you. Is there approval to authorize signature on that contract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next, we have approval and signature of a ThyssenKrupp work order for a replacement for Americans with Disability Act complaint emergency phone in the courthouse annex elevator. The work order is in the amount of $3,371. I have a motion to approve that order.
I move we approve that order.
For a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, approval and signature of emergency 24 cancellation forms for the fire protection monitoring service of the Upshur County Courthouse and Upshur County Library. Monitoring will now be performed by the Upshur County Comm Center using software installed by Micrologic, and Micrologic is a local company, if I'm not mistaken. Is there approval for signature and adoption of that contract?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next, we have a request from Union Elementary second grade teachers for 10 one-day pool passes to be included in an auction basket for the school carnival.
Can I explain this item?
Yes.
This group contacted me on Wednesday, I believe, of last week. Their carnival was on Saturday, and they asked if they could be on the agenda. I explained that they could not because I did not have their request in time. So we had an agreement that they would actually purchase the pool passes. I would hold the check until today, and I determine whether or not you approve this. And if you do approve, then we will not cash the check that they approved.
Proper way to handle that. Appreciate your attention to that matter, Carrie. It's often difficult sometimes to approve certain things during the week. We don't have special meetings because they have to be announced 3 days in advance, like our normal commission agenda. So I appreciate your handling in that manner, Carrie. Is there a approval of that request from Union Elementary?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and you'll return the check or void the check and give that back to them. Okay, next we have correspondence from Steve Linga requesting the promotion of Stephanie M. Jack to full-time regular telecommunicator at her current rate of pay effective immediately.
I would ask that you also postpone this decision because we did not receive the signed copy of the correspondence from Steve Linger. This was an email that's included in the agenda, and we did not receive the signed copy, so I would wait for you to make
So
that
we'll
decision.
postpone that until next week?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have correspondence from Michelle Posey announcing her resignation as case manager for the Community Corrections Program effective April 3, 2015. Is there a motion to approve that resignation?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next, correspondence from Micah Hitt Harris, Community Corrections Program Director, requesting the employment of Ashley Brooke Ware at $10.25 per hour, effective April 6, 2015. And I presume that is in the position of case manager. That'd be the position that she's filling the vacated position.
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve that item?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. That concludes the items for discussion, action, or approval. Now have three information items. We have correspondence from Jody Akers, Director of Student Services, requesting the presence and participation of J.C. Rafferty, Commission President at the Spring 2015 Countywide Safety Planning Committee meeting on Wednesday, April 15 at 9:00 a.m. at the Upshur County Board of Education. We have correspondence from Wiley Creasy, Upshur County resident, requesting the repair of Darlene Drive, also known as Carver Road. Each commissioner, I believe, as well as other officials, received a letter of correspondence from Mr. Creasy requesting assistance in that matter regarding the disrepair or the condition of Darlene Drive, which he stated is an orphan road, but we will, I believe, Ms. Wallace, if you would send a letter to the Department of Highways to request at least some attention be afforded that request that can be resolved. Thank you. Next, we have an invitation to the Children's Memorial Flag Day Luncheon on April 16, 2015 at noon at Chapel Hill Methodist Church, United Methodist Church. That's an annual event, has been for the last 5 years or so, which we do attend. So it's always a very good program and for a worthwhile cause. Last week we had a proclamation dedicating this month as Child Abuse Month, Children's Awareness Month. And we currently fly a flag out on the courthouse plaza in symbol recognition of that proclamation. We have item number 4, invitation to wear blue on Friday, April 10, in support of children across West Virginia who are subject to child abuse. I know that we'll follow through on that. We have agendas and notices of meetings. We have meeting minutes, meetings, and appointments of upcoming boards. Our next regular meeting will be April 9 at 9 o'clock in the annex. Now, our next appointment is a little over an hour away, and we cannot, because of the agenda setting that time, we cannot hear any, I presume you're Mr. Saltis?
Yes.
We cannot have you appear before 10:30. But we do have another engagement at the clerk's office in about 20 minutes regarding some possible election information. So I would suggest we pay some bills pending that meeting downstairs. We'll return promptly for 10:30. If you wish to stay, you may. There's some coffee and water there if you'd like to take some, but we
We'll probably step outside for a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you,
We
sir.
can't, we're just not, we're not allowed to,
I understand.
once it's in the agenda, we have to follow the agenda. So we'll pay some bills. I will reconvene this session of the Upshur County Commission. We have a 10:30 appointment, Mr. Jeff Saltis, Upshur County resident, who wishes to discuss or present a complaint against the Upshur County Sheriff's Department. Mr. Saltis. As I understand it, you're aware, you will have 15 minutes if the sheriff or his staff is here. They will have a 15-minute rebuttal. We then have an 11 o'clock appointment with Steve Rawlings, West Virginia Risk Pool Insurance. He will make a presentation, probably no more than a half hour, following which you will then be able to present another 15 minutes, and then the sheriff will be able to present, if he wishes, another 15 until the information is discussed and stated.
Can we wait maybe another minute, because I do believe the sheriff intends to be here.
Oh, yes.
Just so he can
told
hear
me. I
everything.
have no problem with that.
Okay.
Can I go ahead and give you this so you kind of be able to follow down with me?
Thank you. Is that for each of the commissioners?
I just only have one copy of all of it.
Okay, we can share it then, maybe.
You can make part up,
Yeah, okay.
part up, you can do part
Because these
up.
are all separately taken themselves.
Yes, sir, they're all numbered. So if I quote something and I can tell you right where I'm at.
How about get the sheriff from upstairs?
The sheriff and the deputies have arrived. Okay, being a little past 10:30 and all are present, Mr. Saltis, if you'd like to make your presentation, Sheriff. As we have an 11 o'clock appointment, what the prescribed proceedings will be, Mr. Saltis will present a 15-minute presentation. He will have 15 minutes to rebut or to make a statement concerning his statement. We will then recess your issue. We then have the West Virginia Cooperative Risk Pool, County Risk Pool Insurance make a presentation. After that, we'll then reconvene Mr. Saltis in
Okay,
15-minute increments.
great, sir.
So, Mr. Saltis, if you'd like to make your presentation, please.
Yes, sir, I did ask for an executive discussion, not to make this public. And there are some things that are going to be touched on with persons' names, things that I really don't think this council wants out in the public.
Okay. The right to, as your complaint is against the sheriff's department or particular officers, they have the right either to make it executive session, because they have the right, so the decision is really within their court whether they wish to have it made public or to have a private session. Sheriff, do you speak for your office?
It would be my request, gentlemen, that this complaint stay in open session of the commission this morning.
That being the case, it is an open.
Then my first question to the county commission and the Upshur County Sheriff's Department is, there's a poker game going on in this county with very prominent people, and they are paying for sexual acts to happen. It is well known all over town. It has been discussed at the golf course. It has been discussed at the donut shop. Many people are very aware of it. I do have proof of it if I need to. I would like to know why nothing has been done.
Okay. That's one issue.
That's one issue. Second issue is nepotism, retaliation, harassment by the Upshur County Commission, or not commission, but the Sheriff's Department. Mr. Brady is aware of a situation that we talked to him a long time ago about. He asked us not to pursue or do anything if he could talk to the Sheriff's Department, which he did, and they stopped harassing, they stopped doing it all. But now through nepotism, one of their Deputy Theron Kaner, he has got his brother involved in it now, and they are pushing issues and doing stuff which we can show retaliation from through. This starts clear back in 3 years ago in the high school with the Deputy Simons. He basically took upon himself to arrest my son. He made it public in the papers, clear down in the Charleston papers. He put it on Channel 12's news. And when the issue was over, is my son was sitting on the bus and he said, "I'd like to have somebody killed." Another boy jumped up and said, "I'll do it for $75.
Beat up.
Beat up, and I'll do it for $75. Mr. Simons took this upon himself to follow through with it. He did not at any point involve the high school. The high school had no idea when I approached them what was going on. The pro-officers guidelines clearly state that he is to work in conjunction with the school and follow all school rules and things, which they did not do. It also says that he is not allowed to pursue the case unless it is a severe, life-threatening, at that moment, incident. He is supposed to turn it over to the Sheriff's Department to further investigate and further go on. He did not do that. Instead, he brought it to Mr. Kaufman. He called me on the phone and wanted to know if I could be there to pick my son up.
You say Mr. Kaufman, you're referring to the sheriff?
Magistrate. He called me up on the phone, wanted to know if I could be down here. When he found out, I told him at that time I was an hour away. And he said, "Not a problem, we need your son picked up." And I said, "Well, I'll get there as soon as I can." I passed him on the way to the courthouse to file his complaints and do all this stuff on the way up there. And that's when we brought our son immediately to the Mr. Kaufman and went through all the ordeal and all that stuff like that. We did fight it. We did get Simons fired. We were in a very big part of that with the Upshur County School Board and everybody else. And now, because we got one of the Sheriff's Department people fired, we have endured a lifetime of harassment, retaliation, and everything else. Now, I'm not saying my sons are perfect. I'm not saying what they have done is wrong, right, or anything else. We're not here to do that issue. We're here to figure out why a sheriff and a magistrate are related, and they use it to their best of their advantage, because everything has gone through one and only one magistrate of everything that's happened. So I can't figure out what's going on with that. I want to know why you're allowed to hire, even though they're in different law enforcement agencies, they're allowed to show up at the house at all times. The other night, they showed up at my house to arrest my son on shoplifting charge that Walmart has no clue of. They don't know why it's in the Sheriff's Department. They're all signed by Nick Kaner, pushed by Nick Kaner, brother of Theron Kaner. You asked them to stop bothering us, they did. Now they've got the city doing it. They showed up at 12 midnight on a arrest warrant that clearly states cannot be served but between the hours of 9 and 4 p.m. They showed up at midnight. The reason they showed up is the same time as when they arrested him before. It's so they can put him in jail overnight till a magistrate comes in the morning. That is harassment. That is intimidation. It is bullying. Every time we come to the court system says, hey, you either settle for this or we're going to press these bigger charges against you. I come down the other day, I talked to Walmart. Walmart kind of contacted Nick Kaner. Nick Kaner filed new charges against my son. That are on the same day, if you'll see the copy of in there, what is actually through your court system and what is on the system. In 9/26, there was 2 seatbelt infractions against my son. We went to Walmart. Walmart contacted Nick Kaner. He filed 2 new things over driving without license and driving on suspended and was insurance, which we knew nothing about. He filed them through the municipal court. Now we have 2 more infractions that we had no idea, never been contacted about, never knew nothing about. Now yes, my son did them. I'm not going to lie, he did them. Why, when he did them in September and the seatbelts were filed in September, are they not being filed till now after Walmart contacts him? That's retaliation. He had all the time in the world. The shoplifting charge that we just have gotten with my son was done in June of last year. June. They just now swore out a warrant for a non-arrestable offense on January. It was filled out by Nick Kaner. Again, Nick Kaner is the complainant. Walmart's not the complainant. So my question to you, is he now an employee of Walmart? That violates the Code of Ethics and the West Virginia law enforcement. They're using their nepotism, their connections, their everything they can do to harass the Saltis family as much as they can. My boy cannot come to town. He got pulled over 12 nights in a row, which, by the way, I smell dope in this room. So since it is in their court records, and they have admitted it in their court records, that one of their sheriff's guys who searched a vehicle at my house with permission, no goes, a vehicle that had been in the mud the night before, clear up in the cab, smelled marijuana, asked to search the vehicle, which he did, and they found nothing, no proof, but it was entered in court records. Why? There's no proof of it. It's another thing that they do. So since I've kindly put all of you in it, I expect the Sheriff's Department for the next 12 days for one of your family members, or you all yourselves, to be pulled over on Main Street and the Sheriff Sheets down here, and get the humiliation I got from my vehicles being pulled over and searched constantly. Because I can't even attend an event that I DJ now without somebody coming up to me asking why my vehicles are being pulled over consistent. We can't come to town, that we're not being followed. To the point that my wife and I switched vehicles with my son, and the deputies followed us. Why? I wasn't breaking any laws. I don't understand this. I have tons more stuff. I can't present at this time because I'm running out of time really quickly. There are just endless things that we have that are going on about this. I want it stopped. I want the names cleared. I want the monies that they have charged us back. I want all this done. I have enough proof now throughout the histories, plus 5 other families that this has happened to. I do not want to open this up. I do not want to put this out in record. I do not want to go on. But they're not even following their own rules or guidelines. They're setting policies through court records. All you have to do is, the first time you got arrested with this kid, or the second time you got arrested, the family that had him arrested wrote a letter and gave it to the Sheriff's Department and said, we told him not to pick it up. Their backup was another family that said, yes, they heard Drew tell us. What was never investigated is, that family is the dope supply for that first family. What they never investigated was, that family lives with that family and babysits their kids on a consistent basis. But because they said it, it made it true. There was no other side presented. There was nobody else asked of whether he was told or not anything else. But we got an arrest record, and he was picked up at midnight again. They have called us countless times and said, buddy, you called us one time, said, we need to talk to your son. We brought him down immediately. There was no reason for that other than retaliation. They're upset.
Officer Linger lives at the end of my road. He drove by my house 4 or 5 times. The same night he arrested him in his sheriff's deputy car.
And my cameras have it recorded, him driving up and down the road,
He
but
seen
yet they didn't
him
arrest
in
him
the
until
front
midnight.
yard,
Why?
working on his Jeep. Why didn't he come down then? He already knew about the warrant. Why did he wait till 12 o'clock at night?
The current warrants. We sat and talked with Deputy Linger at the Tough Man contest. His boy was fighting there. We talked to him out in road, on duty and in possession. We talked with him, and he was sitting there. He knew nothing about any warrants arrested, otherwise he would have arrested Drew. Because he's harassed Drew enough times on our road, telling him to slow down and everything else, but lets his family run up and down that road at 100 miles an hour. We've got tons of things that we can go on and information and things that's happened. I don't know where to turn, I don't know what to do. I talked with the sheriff a while ago, he asked me why I didn't come to him. Nothing against him. I don't know him. I don't know who he is or what he is. I do know that he's a relation to the magistrate. Everything that's going through is going through the magistrate. So as far as I'm concerned, it's part of it. They've got a nice little system set up here. You get your brother, your sister, your mother all involved in everything. And boy, you can just railroad anybody you want to railroad through this county. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to turn. I'm giving you all a chance. I don't want to file a lawsuit. I don't want to go through all this stuff. I want everything corrected. I want everything brought to date. I've known Virgil Miller forever. We went through Cub Scouts and everything else. I have no problem with Virgil Miller. My problems are with Deputy Hibb up there. When Deputy Hibb, when this family came to him, his first comment to my son coming in that room was, guess what? I'm not Deputy Simons. When I bring my charges, they'll stick. Why? Why that comment? If it's not for retaliation because we got one fired. I'm going to the mayor after this because I can't go to the chief of police. I don't know where he stands or what's going on with it. So I got to go to the mayor now, and I can't even bring it out in a decision like this.
Mr. Soltis?
Yes.
Under our agreement, you've had 15 minutes. We will
Yes, sir.
allow the sheriff. And as I stated earlier, then we have our presentation from the West Virginia
Yes, sir.
Insurance. And then we'll resume this after his presentation.
Yes.
Sheriff?
Morning, Commissioners. Morning, Mr. and Mrs. Saltis. As a father, I want you to know that I understand and respect you for the love and concern that you have for your son. Can you tell me your son's full name that you're talking
Jeffrey Andrew Saltis.
about? Jeffrey Andrew.
Yes, sir.
You're not talking about Michael Lee?
No. This has nothing to do with Michael.
Nothing whatsoever to do with Michael.
All these infractions have occurred just against Michael. I didn't bring in Tasha yet, and I didn't bring in
My daughter-in-law yet, neither.
the daughter-in-law yet. I haven't touched on several things yet.
Okay. I thought we were here today to talk about Michael Lee.
No.
No, sir. That's a whole total infraction that, like I said, I didn't want to make things public.
Okay. Well, as I sat back here and listened to you, sir, I guess I have to say I take offense by what you said about the sheriff of Upshur County and my son, Magistrate Michael Small. I can tell you right now, as being his father, that there is no conspiracy on our behalf against any of your family. If I thought they were, I would be the first to speak up on that matter. But I have not seen that since I've been sheriff, and I've been sheriff for almost 2.5 years now. When cases go before Magistrate Kaufman that I'm involved in any way, Magistrate Kaufman informs that person, that defendant, however you wish to title them, that he is related by, that he is my son, and if they wish to have that case transferred to another court, all they have to do is sign their name, and that is done. Now, you also spoke on the matter of pro officer before Rocky Head. that you got him fired?
No, Deputy Simons.
Well, the one before, Deputy Simon. That was before my time, but I've not seen record of that.
Well, you have a record of him being arrested for slashing tires after he
Well,
got
that's
taken
that's a
out.
different issue. That's after he left here.
Right.
That shows you that we're not very impartial. If somebody breaks the law, then
Yes, sir.
we investigate that law.
Yes, sir.
We don't care what title they're holding at that time. But if you're not speaking about Michael, I came up here this morning, was prepared to speak about Michael. Are you going to bring his name up later today?
Not that I'm aware of, but if I do, I will gladly let you, or gladly invite you to say anything you would like to say about that. I have no problem with that. That wasn't my intention this meeting.
How many times has your son been arrested? Do you know roughly has been fired?
Two times he's been arrested, and the youngest one, Drew, has been arrested twice, and he is in current, was going to be arrested the other night when they showed up at 12 a.m. It was your Deputy Theron.
No, he's only been arrested once and put in jail.
Well, we brought him down and brought him in, which is an arrest record, but
Doesn't matter how he gets here.
it doesn't matter how he gets here.
He's processed
Right.
through the court, that's considered an
Right.
arrest.
Right now,
Until final
Deputy
decision.
Theron and his brother Nick showed up at my house at 12 midnight. Nick is completely outside of his jurisdiction, but using his brother to get there. And the third time told by Nick Cantor to me, he needed to bring his brother out there because they didn't know where we lived.
Well, you spoke on the conspiracy between these two brothers. First of all, I'm not responsible for Nick Cantor's actions.
I understand that, sir.
You have to go to the other end of Main Street to
I understand it.
attempt to get an answer there. Now, as sheriff, about what you have stated here this morning, I have to disagree with you respectfully. I don't think Theron Cantor is profiling your son. I don't think there's any conspiracy within my department to profile either one of your sons. I've been here 2.5 years, I've already stated that. In my opinion, I have a great bunch of deputies. And I sit in my office and I follow them around and I ride with them. And I've seen this with my own eyes. It's their goal, and I appreciate their goal. It's their goal out here to protect and serve all the people of Upshur County. And I see that every day from them. So I guess we are in some disagreement.
Yes, sir.
But,
Can you explain to me why your sheriff's deputies and the city police together in conjunction, Nick Cantor being the major one, pulled over my son 12 times and had to search the vehicle each and every time?
And found nothing.
And found nothing
Each and every time.
each and every time? And what's really nice is we've been
Well,
trying to get the records down here.
I'm not going to respond to that right now because you've opened up a can of worms. You've just mentioned that one of my officers, a city officer, has stopped your son 12 times. I need to investigate that.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Over what period of time are you talking about?
When he got accused of picking this child up from school, and the mother said that he didn't do it, between the time he was arrested from Deputy Hibbs until I spoke to Buddy Brady and he spoke to the sheriff's department and asked them to please stop it.
I still don't understand the time frame you're talking about here.
What the record is, we
Let me see.
don't have that information, it looks like I didn't bring it. It's in the arrest record of when Deputy Hibbs arrested my son then. So. if you
What was
look
that
at
charge?
case, Picking, well, the
Since you're talking
charge
about
is
Mike,
Contributing to a
I need to ask
delinquency of a
you.
minor.
the contributing to delinquency of a minor.
When was that arrest?
Back,
That's what I'm looking for.
yeah, it should be on there.
Talking about Jeffrey.
Yes, sir.
125 of 2012.
Like I said, this is over a 3-year period.
3 years and a couple months
Yes, sir.
since this has occurred.
Yes, sir. And I feel that it is all retaliation.
Well, again, I tell you that I've never seen that out of my department, or any of my men. So I guess we're going to butt heads on that. I mean, I don't know how politically correct to say it. You believe one thing, I believe another.
Yes, sir. The nice thing is, though, your deputies have made it policy that you only have to do something one-sided, and all somebody has to say is make that accusation. Now it becomes really troublesome for you to prove different. I don't have to prove any of it, because the lady who wrote the statement on him to Deputy Hibb, all she did was write a statement, and she had basically family members, even though it's a different family, they stay there and they live with them and everything, but basically family members. They made a statement. There was never any investigation done on the side of whether Drew was really told or not.
Did you contest this charge at that point in time? Or did he? I mean, he was an adult,
We came up to the magistrate's court, and at that time, it was presented to us that they dropped it clear down that they would give him a 90-day probation, or if we felt that we had to go on, they would guarantee he would get maximum jail time. And that's what our lawyer came out and told us.
Those are his exact words.
That was his exact words to it. It was a threatening thing that, and I thought to myself, do I want to push this? Do I want to make this public or bigger? And I said, no.
Well,
A 90-day probation would be worth Drew learning some lessons.
If I understand what you're saying, you felt like he was between a rock and a hard spot on that court date,
Yes, sir.
with what was offered at that time, correct?
Yes, sir.
So why wouldn't your beef be with the prosecutor if that was the plea bargain that was laid out there for you at the time?
Well,
We don't make the court decisions. We make the arrest. And everything goes,
aren't you supposed to investigate prior to present to the prosecutor? Or is it
there
just one-sided?
must have been some type of investigation or enough probable cause to have the warrant issued. Our courts, they do not hesitate
Okay, then I have,
I mean, many times, my officers, state police officers, city officers go before the court and they want a criminal warrant on said charge. I'd say most of these gentlemen that's sitting here in the back of the room have probably been told at some time in their career, there's not enough probable cause. You need to go back to and investigate this further. And that's usually what occurs. And then at that point, once the investigation is completed, it goes back to the court. And then at that point in time, if there is enough probable cause, there's a warrant issued. The court is not saying that this person is guilty at that point in time. They're saying that there's enough probable cause to make the arrest.
I understand that.
I have a question here. So if someone calls in a complaint,
Yes, ma'am.
my daughter-in-law was living down on Upper Childers Road.
Yes, ma'am.
The neighbor at the top of the road comes out, put a shotgun in her face. I have the text messages, date, stamp, time, whole 9 yards. She called the law. She called 911. They never went to the man's house. No investigation whatsoever was done. So I could walk up to, say, Buddy, and put a shotgun in his face and
When
say,
did this occur?
slow down.
When?
This occurred on
Or when is your
March
text
19th at
stated?
6:36 p.m.
When? I'm sorry.
March 19th, 6:36 p.m.
That's 2015.
this year, yes.
Who responded?
Nobody.
Nobody. She didn't even receive so much as a call back.
Was this called into 911?
Yes, it was.
Then I wish that person or an interested party would have contacted the sheriff and said that they wasn't getting cooperation and that somebody needed to respond. And if my guys was tied up and couldn't get there, then the state police or one of their units should have been there.
I understand that. But in the same sense, they hear the Saltus name. They
And the
call
reason we're saying-
911,
hold on.
who you were supposed to be able to call in case of an emergency. Nothing done.
Well, the reason we're saying that is back in Strawberry Festival 3 years ago, or 5 years ago, my son got his lip busted by a kid down here. We had the kid arrested. It turned out to be the Lewis County Sheriff's Department's son. They settled out of court. No, nothing was paid to us for the medical bills or anything else that we were pushing for. It got settled out of court. We had a girl show up at our house who knocked in my front door, kicked my son and knocked him down, the youngest one. She
Who was
then
your mother?
proceeded to take a crowbar and beat the crap out of my car and all. The prosecutor, magistrate, and sheriff's department settled it out of court, and nothing was paid to us, monies and everything else.
How can the sheriff's department
No,
and the prosecutor settle something out of court without the court being involved?
no, the court was involved.
The court wasn't
Prosecutor-
involved. I mean, it was all in
I mean,
there.
it
It was
was-
the deputies who went in to
I
testify,
went
the
into
prosecutor
matter
and the
told
court.
charges had been dropped.
Well, again, before my time runs out,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to repeat myself. As a father and grandfather, you're a father, you're a mother. And I appreciate the love and concern that you have for your children. But I can tell you as the sheriff of this county that I don't feel that we have conspired in any way or profiled your sons. Now, that's where we.
That's where we're at the impasse.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
So I guess we'll just have to, if you wish to speak again after the next meeting, I'll be glad to sit and listen, and then, of course, if I want to rebut, I'm sure the commission will give me that opportunity.
Yes, sir.
And then, before I step down, I want you to know that you're always welcome to come to my office. If you're uncomfortable sitting in my office and you need to speak to the sheriff, I'll be glad to meet with you in a neutral location. We can sit and chat and maybe talk out some issues,
Yes, sir.
if that's what you would like to do.
Yes, sir.
So, gentlemen, that's all I got for now.
Sheriff, it is 11 o'clock. We will recess your issue, and then we will have the Upshur County Risk, or West Virginia Risk Pool make their presentation.
Thank you for your
And
time.
then if Mr. Saltis wishes to make a following presentation, we'll allow that, and then if you wish to rebut anything he additionally says, we'll give you that time. Steve Rawlings from the West Virginia County Risk Pool
By 11:30.
will make a presentation 11 o'clock relative to insurance proposal.
I'm just wondering how long to tell them, however long you need.
Call me if I'm late part.
I wasn't sure.
Thank you.
At the time.
You can stay here.
Thank you, sir. You want to go there? Just be back there.
Morning, Commissioners. I appreciate you taking a few minutes of your time. For the record, my name is Steve Rawlings. I'm here on behalf of the West Virginia County Risk Pool. I'm the Director of Operations for the Risk Pool. I have with me today Mike Rizak. He is one of our loss control individuals, as well as he does some member service aspects as well.
He made a presentation several months ago on sexual harassment policy, I believe.
Yes, sir. I believe that was January 27th and January 28th when he came in and spent a few days with you all. And then that actually follows a presentation that I personally did for the County Commission a few years ago as well. I did a very similar presentation to the employees at the time as well. I believe that was about 3 years ago that one as well. I did that one in March, I believe. I certainly appreciate, again, you taking your time. I do have a little bit of information I'd like to share with you. I promise I won't go over this word for word, but I do have some information in here I'd like to kind of leave with you as we go through. So with your permission, provide this information to you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner. And then I'll have an extra copy if there's anyone else who would like this. What I'd like to do today is talk briefly about the program itself. What is a pool? What is the West Virginia County's Risk Pool? How long it's been around, and a few other items as well. First of all, to start out with, if you wouldn't mind looking at the very first page. The very first page is a member map that shows the entities that participate in the West Virginia County's Risk Pool. As you can see, we have 45 counties of the 55 counties that participate in this program. In addition to that, we have 86 authority members that participate in this program as well. Those authorities represent public service districts, economic development authorities, solid waste authorities, health departments, and so on and so forth. And we have a variety of different entities that participate in that. With that said, Those 45 counties have come on since July 1st, 2007. July 1st, 2007 is when this program first started, and it started with 19 county commissions, of which actually the very first entity that actually signed the member agreement and entered into an agreement to join and create the risk pool was Upshur County. So Upshur County was the #1 county that decided that it would be the first one to step in and join the program. So with that said, if you flip to the next page there, and I just want to very briefly go over what is pooling. What is it? Why do you have it? Why does it exist? Back in 2007, and actually let me back up even further than that. Back in 2005, the West Virginia legislature allowed and permitted underneath their ability to legislate, permitted pools to exist. Pooling is taking similar or like-minded organizations or entities or exposures and putting them together into one fund or one group and being able to self-insure or to provide coverage for the liabilities and the events that come out of that operation. So in 2005, the legislatures got together and they allowed that to occur. Back in 2006, we got together with the administrators for the CCAWB and the WVACO and created a feasibility study. We did a feasibility study with about 43 of the 55 counties participated in that study. And then we launched a program to get started 7/1/2007, and we started with 19 county commissions, and we are where we are today. Pooling in general, it's a member-owned program. Upshur County owns the pool. It's not the Board of Risk and Insurance Management, which is a state program, and it is not a commercial. It's not a commercial product that is owned for profit. It is a member-owned program. Upshur County owns it. It is your pool. It is not my pool. This program is incorporated in West Virginia. It's a West Virginia pool, and it is something that belongs to you. There is no profit motive in a pool. The profit motive wouldn't be there because if you're the owner, why would the pool be collecting more from you than what it needs to collect to operate the program? So there's no profit involved in this. There's no design to create additional income for the program because we're using public funds to provide coverage, to provide services, and to provide support for your organization as well as similar like-minded organizations. The board that oversees the program meets quarterly, and the board members are elected from the membership. So the membership actually elects those individuals, and today the board is made up of 6 county commissioners and 1 county administrator, make up the pool board, and those individuals are actually representative of those that participate in the county, or rather in the county risk pool. So for example, and someone had mentioned Lewis County earlier, so I'll pick on Lewis County a little bit, not negatively or so, but Lewis County is one of the 10 counties that does not participate in the pool. There's no one from Lewis County that can sit on the pool board to make decisions over what happens to the pool, over what happens to the rates, what happens to the coverages, what happens to the services. It has to be from member represented individuals that are elected by the membership. The membership actually meets, as far as officially, there's an annual meeting at which time there are either 2 or 3 seats that are up for election at the time, and those individuals they are nominated by their commissions or by their entities, and they go through an election every year. Again, it's a 3-year seated term. They'll either have 2 or 3 seats up based upon the rotation.
Are the 6 commissioners that are elected, are they by region or just regardless of where they come from, they can be on the board?
We actually, we encourage the regional piece, and I can tell you actually we have a very good regional representation now. For example, if you'd like, the commissioners come from, in the east it's going to be Jim Whitaker from Berkeley County. In the west, it's going to be Blair Couch from Wood County. We have Bernie Fazzini from Harrison County, kind of in the center part. From the north, we have Craig Jennings from Preston County. In the south, we have Dave Tolliver from Raleigh County. And then we also have J.R. Keplinger from Hardy County. So it is the goal is to have some good representation, and you all are kind of right in the middle of it, actually. So with that said, that's actually that's really a good thing. So we try to keep that regional representation in there in that respect. Ultimately, it's a decision by the members when those individuals come up for election, but we do actually have that in play to keep that regional representation. And I can tell you actually, both Craig Jennings as well as Dave Tolliver are brand new board members because one of the board members lost his election in the election for his commission seat, and so we need to replace that. And one of our other commissioners from up north, she retired. So those seats were open, and then when the board recently back in February decided to place individuals on those there for the open seats, they did the regional representation. They said, okay, what regions are either not represented or underrepresented? What can we do to be able to bring that in? So therefore, Craig and Mr. Tolliver came into that play there.
Thank you.
Why would you have pooling? There's really three reasons why you want to have pooling. Pooling is here for number one, stability and stability of cost. To be able to provide you year after year with the stability of something that you expect from a rate perspective, so that way you know what's going to happen year after year after year, and give you a comfort level in the fact that what's going to take place is something that's no surprises, if you will, from a rate perspective.
Can you provide somewhat of a comparison to companies such as Travelers or One Beacon?
I can. I actually did some information yesterday and put some information together, and I looked at what you have today, and actually in the presentation we can either do that now or we can do it when we get to it. But
We can
okay. And then because I actually have a demonstration there about what that means and how we'll come into the stability piece. But overall, number one, stability. Number two is to provide broader coverage than what you currently have, because we're not insuring automobile dealers, which would be fine, but we don't insure automobile dealers, we don't insure homeowners, we don't insure grocery stores. We only do counties, and we only do county-related authorities. We know what your exposures are. We know where your coverages need to be, so therefore we can protect you at the time of need. And then we can react quickly as well in the respect that if there's a coverage that you all need, or if there's a coverage that needs to be addressed, that's something the pool can do, because again, it's your program. When the county commissioners say, hey, look, we've got this thing going on here, this type of exposure, do you think the pool can help? Well, yes, we can. And in fact, we've done that 3 different times now. We've actually introduced 3 different types of coverages, 2 of which two of which currently you can't get anywhere, and 1 of which we've added that came in actually before what the commercial provider was doing. And we'll get into that specifically as well. And then also the services. Our services are tailored specifically to what you need. So whether it's going to be a risk control perspective, whether it's going to be property appraisals, whether it's going to be a variety of different things, we tailor our services to our members. So we'll come out, such as the example that we came out and did harassment training for Upshur County. Well, one of the things that we did when we did that is we took policies and procedures, we took your operations and your folks, and we incorporated that into our training and provided that to you. Well, we've also trained multiple other counties, and we've done the same thing. We've altered and modified our program to be able to bring in their procedures and their information to be able to present information and support and training that's specific to that member. So we apply what we can as far as from a service, as far as being tailored to the member. Efficient responses to the member's requests, because you are the pool. You deal directly with the pool, directly with the program. The individual that we have who services your program, who services you as the member when it comes to claims, is one person, and that one person does not only property and casualty, but Mike Papalnatos also does your workers' compensation. So you have one person and one contact who will handle anything from a simple property claim all the way up to a very large state law enforcement liability claim or a hiring frying practice claim. It's one person who you'll be comfortable with, who you know who they are, who they know who you are, and therefore there's not, who are you, where are you located, what do you do, are you sure you've got this in play? Mike knows what you all have. Mike knows what your procedures are. He's going to ask questions and do his investigation, but he knows these things. And then again, it ties in the last piece, members work directly with the pool. So the other question is, if those 3 things are really what the benefit of the program is, why else would you have the pool? And really, intergovernmental cooperation. I mean, the great thing about this state, and the great thing that you all do that quite frankly a lot of your surrounding states don't do, is that you all talk to each other. And I can give you a great example. Back in 2007, when we were actually presenting the pool to the initial, for the initial drive, my administrator was up in a northern Panhandle County giving a presentation in the morning. And he had a presentation 4.5 hours later in the southern part of the state. And by the time he got to the southern part of the state and was in that county commission meeting, he was being asked questions. He was being asked about the answers he gave to the Northern County answers. Well, I can tell you what, in most of the states you have around here, you've got, as far as like Virginia or Maryland or Ohio, they don't know what to do right beside one another, much less the fact that you've got a completely wide apart. So this increases your communication. This increases your ability to work together. If the sheriff wants to get into an agreement with a sheriff next door, then we have the ability to help him do that. We have the ability to have those individuals share policies and procedures. We can act as a conduit for that. So it's really about intergovernmental cooperation, and it's about knowing what your neighbors are doing and encouraging everyone to do better. Not that you're doing a bad job, not that you've ever done a bad job, but there's always something that can be improved. And this allows you to have that conduit for that, and we can share those ideas. We can share these ideas for basically group success. The next couple of slides, I'm just going to very briefly just identify. Number one is the PNC membership. As you can see, we've grown from 19 county commissions, and I didn't actually put the first year on there, but 19 county commissions and no authorities to currently we have 45 county commissions and 86 authorities, and then the worker compensation membership has grown as well. And the only reason I show you those two is for you to look at the third chart there, which is the annual member contributions. The very first year of the pool, we collected under $2.5 billion. So we had 19 county commissions that collected under $2.5 billion. When we did that, we actually saved those members millions of dollars in the very first year for just joining the pool. Well, as you can see, over the years of picking up the membership and picking up the participation, we've actually grown to collecting a little over $10.5 million this year. Now, that also, understand too, when you see those rates going, or not rates, but when you see those costs going up, that's in stark opposition to what we've done with the rates. The rates actually were dropped in 2011 and came down for several years, even though we were adding coverages. So we were adding certain coverages, but the rates went down because we were able to support that. So you can see that we're collecting now a little over $10.5 million from the participation, and that kind of shows that really what we've been able to do is to continue the good feelings that we've had with the membership and be able to provide good support, good service, and good coverage. So then the question comes about, how does this impact Upshur County Commission? And also, how has Upshur County Commission impacted the pool? Well, as I've already mentioned to you, Upshur County Commission was the first one to actually join the program, pull the trigger, if you will. And quite frankly, that's really what started the cascade to join the pool, is because we had one member that said, you know what, we want to do it, and so they joined. So you all joined the pool, and certainly we appreciate that. Also understand too that since the inception of the program, even before the pool was officially formed, when we had the exploratory committee, we had a board, and that board, actually, you all were representative of the board. Your county administrator was on the board of the interim board and was actually elected and has been on the board since day one for the full board, and that individual has a lot of history as far as with the pool, has a lot of historical knowledge of the program, and so you all actually not only are a member, but you have in the past have actually had seat representation, if you will. The other piece that we have, and we can skip over it if you want, but we also have 10 authorities in Upshur County Commission that participate in the pool. So everything from your airport authority for their GL and POL issues, not the airport liability piece, but the board coverage and the crime coverage, through the health department, the CVB. The most recent one was the fire board that came in after the auditors came in and said they needed certain coverage. So we came in and provided that. So we have 10 Upshur County related authorities that participate in the pool as well. And then the other piece that we do that I think is very important is we actually do full-scale property appraisals. We've actually appraised your properties twice. And we do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, we want to make sure that you know that you have what you think you have in coverage. And that really came out a lot after the Morgan County fire. Because after the Morgan County fire, there's a question, does Morgan County or did Morgan County have enough coverage for the building loss? I can't say if they did or didn't. That's not that. We were not involved in that whatsoever. But I can tell you that across the state, there were a lot of entities that were saying, okay, we don't have enough coverage on that, so we're going to take our $3.5 million courthouse and we're going to plop $10 million on it. It doesn't matter how much they're going to give us, but we think it's worth A, B, or C. So we came in, we did a complete property appraisal of all of your buildings that were $75,000 or more That way, in this case, Upshur County Commission, you knew what you had, you knew the value of what you had, and to put it back, we knew what we would have to do as well. So that's the second reason why we do it. We need to know what you have. Okay, that's important to know what you have, so that way we can charge you appropriately for your coverages. There is no cost, and there has been no cost for that program to the county whatsoever. That would be thousands of dollars to have an appraisal company come in and do that. And we actually hire American Appraisals to do that. We do a third-party appraisal. That way we get the information. And the third-party appraisal, they go out and they do it per building. They don't get paid on how much the building is valued. It's per building. They get a flat fee, and they say, okay, these are the building values. And then we present that information and we say, okay, this is what the third-party appraisal, you have questions, you have concerns, the things need to be modified. That way everybody knows what everybody has. And I specifically and purposely did not put this on here. So this is something that you might want to write down, because I specifically left it on here for the fact that you might want to write this down. I mentioned earlier that the pool is nonprofit. I mentioned that the pool's goal is to not make any money off of the members, because you are the pool. One of the other benefits of the pool is that any funds that are left over at the end of the fiscal year belong to the members. There's a variety of things that can happen with those funds that are going to be left up to the decisions of the board that you all put in place. Number one, you can use that money to create a rainy day fund in the event that you have catastrophic loss, that you have more catastrophic loss than what you would expect, than what the actuarial review is expected. Number two, you can use and have that money put back so you can reduce so you can increase your retention, as far as the pool can increase its retention, to reduce its reinsurance costs for catastrophic loss, and therefore be able to reduce rates and the cost to the members. And number three, we can actually take that money and give it back to the members in a dividend. Back in 2011, we actually went through all of our work, and we actually realized that we could give money back from those that participated in the very first year. So the West Virginia County Risk Pool came up, and we created a $50,000 dividend for our members that would be split amongst the members. There was a little bit of weight put on claims performance, and then there was obviously the weight as far as the participation size. The West Virginia County Risk Pool gave a dividend to the Upshur County Commission of $2,436 for their participation in the pool from that very first year, 07-08. I don't know any other provider that's doing that. That's money that's returned to you. That was your money. That's why the board decided to return that to you. So roughly $2,500 was given back to you after Upshur County Commission saved a considerable amount of money, as well as increased coverages for what you had previous to that. And you also own your own program. So you've got all these things that come into play, but we were able to return those funds. And I think that's a very important piece of the pool. It's very important. You can skip over the Upshur County Authority participants. That's all in there specifically if you'd like to look at that later. I did want to show you a couple of things, and this gets into to the county administrator's question in reference to costs and rates and things and how this has been impacted. When you look at the property values, your property values have kind of been up and down a little bit. You notice when you joined the pool back in 2008, you had about $24.5 million for property value. Then the property appraisals came, it was about $32 million. Today you're sitting about $30.5 million in property values as far as overall. If you'll flip the page, then you can see the same thing with the vehicles, kind of up and down. Sometimes you'll have, maybe the sheriff might have a hole over a couple of vehicles that he doesn't get rid of, and maybe the next year he'll get rid of a few. So you have a little bit of up and down in vehicles. And I'm not negatively picking on the sheriff, but I use the sheriff as an example because they drive most of your vehicles. Okay, they drive them day, they drive them night, they drive in all kind of weather. They're going to operate most of your fleet.
Are these our vehicle counts?
Yes, sir. Those are your vehicle counts. Yes, sir. Those are your vehicle counts right there. So with that said, I think it's a very good time for me to bring up the cost issues and the things. If I were to take, and I did this yesterday, if I were to take the values of your buildings and the numbers of your vehicles today and apply them to what you had and the cost that you paid in 2007, and compare that with the cost that you're paying today. The cost that you're paying today, if you were to apply those back, you're paying 6% more than what you would have paid, than what you were paying in 2007, which for the fact that you've been participating in the pool has been 8 years, that's less than a 1% change in cost each year for coverage that you've been in the pool. It's 0.75%. It's 0.75% increase in cost per year. So I mentioned the stability piece. I don't know how to be much more stable than that. 0.75% of a change as well as including and increasing coverages. I've added 3 different lines of coverages that didn't exist before at all, and I've still only got you at 0.75% difference per cost per year.
It's below inflation.
Absolutely, and that's the point of the pool. That's the whole goal, is to give you that stability so you know what to expect year after year after year. The P&C loss ratio, so your property and casualty loss ratio, I'll be honest with you, I didn't do one for workers' compensation because, quite frankly, you really don't have a loss ratio. It's pretty minimal. I mean, you've had very few injuries, you've got very few things that are impacting the cost. So, the last 3 years that we've created the workers' comp program, we had virtually
Look at
no.
reports from last month.
Well, as of now, virtually you have almost no workers' comp. So anyway, going back to the P&C, so this actually really where it comes into play that, quite frankly, Upshur County Commission has been a great member of the pool. If you look at the loss ratios, you're looking at 8%, 12%, 2%, 32%, 16, 36, 7, and then the current loss ratio of about 3 or so. Sorry, that's in green. Hard to see. A lot easier to see on the computer screen there. But you've been a great member, and we appreciate your involvement. I mean, without your participation, the pool wouldn't exist. And so this is very important. The P&C loss ratio is very good. You've been very good to the pool as well. So let me talk a little bit about service and support. I talked about already the dedicated and assigned adjuster that you're going to have with that every time. Contract reviews. So we actually have counsel on staff. We have legal counsel that will review all of your contracts. We're not going to tell you if they're legal or not, but we'll tell you whether or not those contracts open you to exposure. And we would make recommendations over things you could change to reduce that operational exposure. Doesn't mean you have to take our recommendations, but we're going to provide that information. It's an educational piece. Okay, you can enter this, but you're going to have some exposure. One of the things that we do very, very thoroughly is we work with our members on the AIA contract. If you're going to enter into whether build a building or if you're going to do some renovations, the AIA contract, we've already got some modifications for that we can give you in literally 10 seconds. So we can get that information to you to help you reduce your exposure. But risk control, again, Mike provides the risk control here, as well as he's the liaison with some of our risk control folks. I have got a whole host of individuals that can provide information and support. I've got 3 OSHA 501 authorized trainers that can provide 10 and 30-hour OSHA courses, card carrying courses if you'd like, we can provide that. I have a law enforcement program that can offer up to 10 hours of CE credits. You need to have 16 hours every 2 years. I can give you up to 10 every year for your training there that we actually have authorized through the state DCJS. I have an electrical engineer, a CSP, that can come out and look at your operations as far as your 911 centers, give you recommendations on how to protect from electrical strikes, as well as looking at your liability, your general liability exposures, and so on and so forth. We also do webinars. We do webinars every other month or so. Those webinars that we put on live, and then we also do pre-recorded webinars as well. Then we do that from the website, and then we record those all, and then we put those in perpetuity for you all to access in the future. But overall, let's talk very briefly about the coverage. Let's talk about, I mentioned the 3 coverages that we've actually added that you can't get, you can't get anywhere else, or just been kind of recently brought into play. When it comes to petitions to remove, if an individual in the community wants to remove an elected official, whether it's a commissioner, sheriff, or assessor, or a county clerk, or a circuit clerk, or a prosecutor, it's a pretty low bar. It doesn't take very many signatures for that to get on the ballot, and then all of a sudden you all are facing you're facing a lawsuit, you're facing a court challenge. Well, those individuals aren't asking for money, they just want you removed. They just want you off, they just want you out of that position. With a commercial provider, there is no coverage for that, because the commercial provider is going to provide coverage for when there's monetary damage that are being sought. Well, one of the things that we did, is we reacted quickly when we saw that this was kind of coming in vogue about 3 years ago, is that we actually added coverage for petitions to remove. We will actually provide coverage for petitions to remove, even though there is not monetary damage being sought. We will provide coverage for that up to a certain value. The other coverage we provide that you cannot get anywhere is we provide coverage for reimbursement for criminal conduct. In the event that one of your, and again, I'm going to pick on one of the deputies because, quite frankly, this is something that has come up in another county, where a deputy was accused of something criminal in the course and scope of his duties in his job, and he was found to be not guilty by the court. And the court basically made the determination that since it arose out of the course and scope of his duties, the county commission or the sheriff owed the cost of defense. Well, that's something that no one else provides that. We actually do provide reimbursement for that. If that individual is found to be not guilty, then we provide reimbursement for that. Those are two things you can't get anywhere else, but the pool is able to do that. We were able to react quickly. And then the third piece we've added is the cyber risk coverage. Cyber risk is kind of a buzzword, if you will, and I'll be honest with you, most counties, and this is not West Virginia, but most counties in most states really are not at the point where cyber risk is really an exposure yet, but it's coming. Everybody will have it, whether it's next year you have it or it's 10 years from now, you're going to have cyber risk exposure. We brought that into play because we saw an exposure over in another state. We saw that based upon the violation of the cyber risk issue, not cyber risk, but violation of the privacy issue, that there was a county in another state that had a $15,000 bill for nothing more than the postal bill to be able to get the information. We now provide that coverage, so we now provide some of that. Again, all the while keeping rates stable and keeping you ahead of the game in that issue. And then we also do some non-monetary relief defense, whether it's going to be for inverse condemnation, or if you're going to do some issues with land guidelines and things of that sort. A couple of items, our website. We try to be extraordinarily hands-on and extraordinarily friendly when it comes to the ability for our members to get the information that they need. About 6 months ago, I believe it was, we actually launched a brand new website. And on that website, actually, I've given you a couple of screenshots from the website. You have an entire host of information available, whether it's risk control information, so it's going to be sample policies, sample procedures, it's going to be reference notes that you all can access at any time. All of our sample policies and programs we encourage our members to customize that, or we'll customize them for you. We'll customize them, we'll train your folks on them if you want us to do that. That's great. But one of the other things that we do is we actually have all of our online information for our claims. If you want to see what your claims look like, you can actually go online and you can do two things. Number one, you can actually run a complete report for you can get an Excel report that is exported to an Excel file, and you can take that data and you can sort that data however you wish. You know, what all your automobile claims look like, liability claims look like, et cetera, et cetera. But the second thing you can do, and I actually gave you some screenshots of this, is you can actually pull up claim by claim and look at the adjuster notes, the financial data. You can look at a summary of the program. You can see who got the check, when the check was issued, what the invoice number was, and you can pull all that information up 24 hours a day at your fingertips. I don't know anybody else who's providing that information. That's what we do for our members. We want to make sure that we're all available for our members there. And then we also provide safety videos. We use a service for our safety videos for free that you have access to. They're usually between 7 and 14 minutes long. That's something that Mike might come in and use one of the videos in conjunction with his presentation. So it's not the presentation, but it's kind of in conjunction with it. And then one of the last things that we do that I'd like to bring up is we use what's called a TULIP program, or the Tenant Users Liability Insurance Program. If you have a third party that wants to use your property for an event, I'll give you a great example. We have one of our members that had an antique car show. An antique car group wanted to use the courthouse lawn to do their car show. And that antique car group did not have insurance. Well, if you're going to have third parties do some things, they're going to be inviting the public out on your property, that entity needs to have coverage, and they should be naming you as an additional insured to protect your interest, because you're not the ones out there running the extension cords. You're not the ones out there setting up the wooden signs that could fall over on somebody in a high wind. But you're going to be named in the event that something like that occurs. So we're going to defend you. If that happens, if that occurs, we're defending the Upshur County Commission, no question, because you're the covered entity in the program, you're the member. However, I'm not covering the antique car show because they're not a member of the pool. So what we can do is, if they don't have coverage, if that antique car group doesn't have coverage, they can directly go to our website and go to the TULIP program, and they can purchase a short-term $1 billion liability program for 1, 2, 3 days or whatever, usually between about $150 and $200 for this one coverage. It gets them coverage, which is outside the pool. We don't actually do it, but it also names you as an additional insured in the respect that in case there is a lawsuit that comes against that group, you're defended until or unless it's proven that what happened on that lawn was your fault, and then that comes back to us, and then we provide the defense and or liability payment as is appropriate. So we do have that in play, and that's again on our website, and that's something that that third parties can go to directly if they're using your property, and they don't have to come to you. They can actually go directly to that and get that coverage available to them. So with that said, I do have several website viewer claim information on there, just so you can see that, but I've kind of highlighted what is available on that website. And ultimately, what I'd like to kind of conclude with at this point is to just identify the fact that, and kind of reiterate, this is your program. To use the words of one of our current board members who's been on the board for a long time, is that you can't get any more local than owning it yourself. It's your pool, it's your program. It's not mine, okay? It's not Mike's, it's yours. It belongs to Upshur County. So when you work with the pool, you work directly with their program. It is a West Virginia program, and we appreciate all of our members. You can see that we have grown steadily. I will say this, and I couldn't say this a couple years ago. About 3 years ago, I would have been able to come in here and say, we've never lost a member, ever. I can't actually say that today. We actually have lost a county commission member. Raleigh County actually was in the pool for 3 years, and they had a local agent come in and say, I can do you better. I can get you better coverage, I can do it for better cost. And that local agent came in and dove below the pool by $100,000. They were $100,000 less than the pool. I don't know how they did it, because we saved, because at the time, we actually saved Raleigh County about $75,000 when they joined the pool. So somewhere something occurred. I can tell you that before that year was up, Raleigh County had decided they were going to go out for an RFP and do, again, to review, because they felt like that maybe there were some things in there that they might have been missing. When we proposed to the pool, or we proposed back to Raleigh County Commission, there was a $200,000 swing in what the local agent's cost was. They were $95,000 higher than what the pool was when we came back in the following year, and our rates were essentially the same. So, and they came back to the pool, and now they've been with us for the last 3 years. It's been a good program. We're very pleased to have all of our members. We're very excited about having Upshur County as one of our, not only our initial members, but the initial member of the pool. And we will do anything we can to make sure that we provide you with the service that you expect from a program that you own, that is incorporated in West Virginia, and that is done by members, by counties, for counties. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I think you've been very thorough, Steve. I know from past presentations also, you always come well prepared with information, facts, and we rely on you and your staff for guidance in a number of areas. So I appreciate your presentation. Do any of the other commissioners have a comment?
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all very much for your time, and certainly I've been around since the inception of the program. Mike is going to be kind of doing some of the daily things, so I know that he interacts with county administrator here and there, even though I still do that. So you might see him a little bit more than me, but certainly I'm around, and the administrator is also around as well. You probably know Chris Carey as well through some of the conversations. He is not an absentee landlord, if you will. He is very much involved in the pool day in and day out, and he's been around since the inception as well.
So thank you for making the presentation and traveling to see us.
I'm happy to do it. Thank you all very much for your time. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
As agreed upon earlier, Mr. Saltis has a 15-minute presentation if he wishes to take that time to do so.
Yes, sir.
Followed by the sheriff or his representative.
Yes, sir.
On that note, I'm going to start this one off.
Could you please go to the podium?
Yes,
Yeah, it's easier.
After we ended our last session, you and your deputies went out to the elevator. I got my coat, walked out, and was standing right outside the door. If there is you have no grudge against us, why did you yourself say, damn, I had the wrong kid?
Because I had the wrong kid. That's who okay.
I mean,
The complaint came to me within the last 36 hours that I would be here today, and I agreed to be here today, okay? All right, the information that I'd received at that point in time was that it was going to come here and it was going to be your concern how Michael Lee was treated.
Who gave you that information?
I won't go there.
Whenever we had spoken on the telephone and you said your son is who you had received bullying from the sheriff's department on, We had contacted the magistrate clerk and asked for records on your son. We were given records of Michael Lee, which that information was then passed on to the sheriff, as he should have the ability to prepare for a discussion with you. And that's where there was a miscommunication on who this conversation would be about.
But henceforth, when I talked to you on the phone, I made it well known at that time that I did not want to make anything public, open, or known. That's why I asked for the executive decision. And I said, I can't tell you, because of bias in this county and things going on, of what is going on, because it would open a can of worms.
And I explained to you at that
Yes, you
time
did.
the rules of the executive session, and that the sheriff would have the ability to request that the session be open, which he did.
Yes, but if there's no bias, why did he not come up here with both kids already ready to go? He had no idea what was
They
going to
know
go
we
on.
have 2 kids.
Well, I don't know if they knew you had 2 kids or not. I was not aware that you had 2 children. The records that were pulled from the magistrate's clerk's office were for Michael Lee. There was no records for another child there with.
If I may, since you asked the question, and I've already explained to you that I've been sheriff almost 2.5 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
I don't know how many children you have. And that's the truth.
Yes, sir.
Until today.
No, I will give him that. He does not.
Yeah,
Yes, I understand.
I agree with that.
I agree with
So
But
that's,
when you said
but
that,
the information that
other
I've
deputies
received
laughed.
in the last 36 to 48 hours, yeah, it upset me. That's probably why I said, damn, I prepared for the wrong person.
Yes.
Because
taking how
I don't like doing that
Okay.
stuff.
We're
Excuse
okay.
me, if you
I like to be prepared.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm not
You
gonna
need to
argue.
let those
No, I'm
people
sorry.
talk, and each one of you can have a turn at the podium.
Okay, a couple of little things, and I thank you all for taking time today and reconvening here for me. Back when he was arrested for picking the child up in
So
school.
this is your son
Jeffrey
Jeffrey
Andrew Saltis, yes, sir. When he was done, Isaiah Edmonds had taken my son's vehicle and run it into a tree down here in front of McDonald's. My son was not with him. My son was actually at his mom and dad's house. He crashed that vehicle in there. We were up at the hospital with his parents trying to see how Isaiah truly was. His dad came out and informed us that he failed the drug test. This was turned over to the sheriff's department, and nothing was ever done. No charges against Isaiah, no filings against him, no filings against the family, which, by the way, is the same family who gave them a statement on my son and had my son arrested at the school. Why the discrepancy of when we give them something and somebody else gives them something? They're right after the Saltis family, but the other families don't get anything. My son was threatened to be killed by a child in the county named Artie. We came down here, we sat with the sheriff's department. We told them what was going on, and it was over drugs.
No, that, we sat with the city.
You sat with the city on that one?
Nick Kaner.
Okay, Nick Kaner. We sat with the city on it, and we told them what was going on. They wanted him to become an informant. So Drew said that he would try. They blew his phone up, left and right, asking him about kids and residents, other thing. And then every time we turned around, if his Jeep was in town, Nick Kaner and sheriff's deputies that always seem to have to go with the city, and we can't figure out why, show up to say, somebody's seen you doing something down on such and such street, you need to come here and meet us. Oh, by the way, we need to search your vehicle. Why does my vehicle need to be searched every single time we're pulled over? I don't understand this. Deputy Theron Kaner walked into Walmart, where my daughter-in-law works, at a cash register, and his statement to her, is your son still making meth? Is he out there selling it?
No charges.
No charges ever been filed. No, why in a public place is a deputy that is not biased, that is not trying to profile my son, making these statements? I don't understand where this is going. When we turned over the mother of this RJ that threatened my son's life, I went to my postal inspectors at the place that I work. They started watching the mail. As far as I know, I'm not allowed to know full information and all, but as far as I know, information was handed to this county about the mailings and what was being mailed. To this day, nothing has still been done. So every single thing the Saltis family turns in, nothing gets done. But somebody just makes an accusation, we're pulled over, we're harassed, we're searched. It's affecting my life now. I have no problem with anybody in this room. But I DJ, I represent this city. I try to do things in the best way. But now I'm being looked at. I've got people coming up and asking me questions. I want to know why. I even got everybody at my postal work when it was put on TV and everything wondering why I was arrested. Because on there they said Jeffrey Saltis, they didn't say Jeffrey Andrew Saltis. Why it had to be a news coverage, I don't know. But that was done a long time ago. Why is it that they show up at midnight at my house to arrest my son every time? We can't figure that out. Why isn't it done during the hours when a magistrate is, other than a retaliation? Because when you get arrested at midnight, there is no magistrate on duty. So they automatically have to take you to a holding tank. You have to spend the night in jail. We were told by the Dwayne Linger and another deputy that the night my son was taken up there that they would bring him back down here for court. They didn't bring him back down, they did it over a TV session. We had to drive to Elkins to get my son. More expenses, more costs for the Saltis family. Everything's one-sided, everything's half done. I don't understand. Now, my question to you, since he brought it up and the can of worms is open since everything is public. Back when I first started this, I made a statement at the very beginning of this to show that they are willing to turn their heads when it's certain people. When it's other people, they will profile, they will do what they have to do to get them. And they will harass, they will do everything they do, which violates the very laws. But my biggest question is something he opened there. Why does Mr. Kaufman have to inform people that he's a relation and they have to sign off on it? According to the West Virginia Law Enforcement Code of Ethics, nobody is to be hired in a position that can go in with each other in the court systems or in the commissions or anything else. Why has this been allowed?
Well, again, I'm just interjecting.
Yes, sir.
It is a public election. Mr. Kaufman ran for public election. He was elected by the public to serve as magistrate. Sheriff Kaufman was elected in a public election to serve as sheriff.
But did the public know?
I don't know. I mean, I can't speak of every voter.
I understand, sir. And
But I
that's my
think
question.
the purpose of identifying to a defendant that the sheriff and the magistrate are father and son is to provide the plaintiff, or the defendant in this case, most cases, an understanding that he has the choice if he believes there will be bias because the sheriff is a father and the magistrate is a son. There may be some concern for bias, and by being advised of that, he or his defense counsel can request a second magistrate, in this case most likely Ms. Adams, to represent the state in that issue. So that's my conjecture, my observation.
Yes, sir, and I agree with you totally.
That's the reason for it. But I don't know that there's any. I think you'd have to do that as a matter of ethics, because to avoid what you're indicating is a possibility.
Yes, sir. And that's what I'm trying to point out, what I think is going on. We have people in position that are brother, sister, mother, father, son, something together, and they're using the positions. Now, whether they do or not, I don't know. He can contest that they aren't, and he can contest that they're saying stuff. I really don't know. Do I think it's something that needs investigated? Yes. Do I think nepotism is going on in this county? Yes. They're putting people in prominent positions so they can get what they want, or do what they want, or run what they want. If not, the court rulings and stuff when you go in there wouldn't be one-sided. There would be a full investigation done. And that is something that's really bugging me to death the most in here. If you're not profiling people, if you're not going after people, if you're not doing things, why isn't a full investigation done? And why aren't there testimonies from other people? Why aren't there both sides of it? We've given them tons of stuff. Why has that never been followed up on any of it? Why is it that every single time I've got to pay money, I've paid more to this county? I probably own one of your seats right now because I've paid so much. I bet I've paid $10,000 to $20,000 in court costs, lawyers, and everything else. If it's not a harassment thing, and again, I tell you, my sons are not perfect. I'm not saying they didn't do some of this stuff. They did. But why to the account? My daughter got caught in the high school pool swimming after hours. There was a ticket issued for trespassing. She paid the ticket. She went to court with the sheriff's department, or with the city at this point now. when he got trespassing. It's a search, or it's a warrant for his arrest. Why? Why the inconsistencies?
Okay, your 15 minutes
Yes,
is
sir.
up.
Thank you very much, sir.
Let Sheriff Kaufman rebut or
Yes, sir. Thank you.
answer your questions, and then if you again have additional information you wish to state, you may do so. Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm not going to take the full 15 minutes. I know you gentlemen have more things to do, and I do too, but again, Mr. Saltis, I understand your concern. We don't agree with each other, but that's just the way it is here today. Now, I've heard you mention on more than one occasion something about the sheriff being the father and the magistrate being his son. That was researched through the Ethics Commission, the State of West Virginia Ethics Commission, and also the Supreme Court. They indicated to both of us at that point in time that it was proper by West Virginia standards. If it was not proper, I would not have ran for this position. But once being told by the Ethics Commission and the West Virginia Supreme Court that there was not a big issue, but then they also made my son Michael, the magistrate, fully aware of what he had to do, just like President J.C. Rafferty spoke on. Now, does everyone from my department have to go through that with the magistrate? No. Because that's what the State Ethics Commission said it was not necessary. But any time that I was directly involved in a case, then it would be the protocol of the magistrate to see that that form was presented to the defendant and explained to the defendant, and the defendant had the opportunity to choose what direction he wished to go. Again, I've heard you stand up here and speak about profiling, conspiracy, and I don't think that's occurring under my watch. That's,
Okay, sir, can I ask one small question there?
yes, sir.
Why did they follow me? If they're not profiling, when I got
I
under
don't
his chief.
know. I don't know the situation.
Okay, that's a fair answer, thank you, sir.
I don't know. That's why when you and I spoke earlier today, I asked you, I told you that I was somewhat concerned why you hadn't came to me first.
Yes, sir.
I believe if you would have came to me, or if you want to come to me in the future, in any type of incident such as this, something that's on your mind that you feel is important to you and your family, then maybe we can sit down and discuss it, and maybe we can come to a professional agreement. Or
Yes, sir, I understand that, but you have to realize the point I was at. How am I supposed to know how far, how deep, what's going over what's been happening? Your department handles everything that's against my family and nothing that we turn in.
But if you want to bring each one of those complaints to me directly, so I can give me the opportunity and time to research these situations that you have on your mind, I'll be glad to try to help you and give you a fair answer, a fair response.
Fair enough, sir.
Now, back to what you said earlier, ma'am. I was standing here at the podium before, something about Bennett, is that correct? That nobody responded?
Oh.
Whenever you pulled your cell phone out,
That was a
show me the text message that occurred?
Yes.
In the short 30 minutes that I had downstairs, that was research. Now, I don't know if you was aware, but there was a sergeant from from the state police sitting in the back of the court, of the commission room whenever you was speaking. So he was concerned. So when we went back downstairs, the sergeant and I got together, and there was some phone calls made, some investigation done. And I can tell you, because it's on paper, date and time, that a Trooper Menendez, the West Virginia State Police, responded to that residence on that date
Okay,
to answer the complaint.
okay.
When he got there, nobody was there. Then, he left word that they could come to his office and meet with him to discuss the issue. And nobody has showed up to this day.
Left word with who?
Yeah, how do you leave?
That's all I know. If you want to know any further, you need to go through the
I'll
West
check it.
Virginia State Police.
Yes, sir, I understand.
So again, gentlemen, I thank you for your time. And best of luck to both of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Saltis, do you wish to make any additional statements?
Just one small one, sir. I would like to thank the commission for taking this time today to listen to me. I've had a lot of things, Betty Brady, you know for sure. I've asked several questions, I've tried different things. I'm in an impasse now. I have nothing against the man. I don't know him. I don't know how far this goes. I don't know what's going. I would ask the commission to please, at this point, try to help him put Mr. Kaner on some kind of administrative leave until he finds out what's going on. Because every infraction with Nick Kaner, his brother's got to be there. And I don't know why. I understand the backup with the sheriff. Why does it always have to be his brother? Okay? And I'm going to deal with Nick Kaner at the city hall, like I said now. But I appreciate you taking the time today. Thank you for listening to me. Please let me know your findings or what's going on. I don't want to press this further, but if I have to, I have way more information that I should have never had to get. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Saltis. Sheriff, do you have any additional statements?
No, sir, not at this time. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Is there any further business before the commission at this time? If not, do I have a motion to...
I think. Elisa. Did you want to address the commission?
Yes, please. My request is pretty simple, actually. After all that, I kind of feel silly even asking. I'm on the Animal Care and Control Board for the city. We've been holding some meetings, trying to get some things taken care of so that laws are obeyed and animals are protected. It's been my own personal observation in the last few months that a large number of animals, mainly dogs, but some cats, have been coming up missing. And there's a couple of Facebook pages allowed for this where people can post a picture of missing animal and whatnot.
Is there in a specific area of the city or the county?
No. And it's happening, it's crossing over into Lewis County as well. Now, I had spoken with the sheriff, and he said, well, first thing they need to do is, because in a couple cases, the animals were taken right out of the owner's front yard. And he mentioned that when this occurs, people need to call and report the animal as missing. I realize that many people like myself consider our four-legged friends to be family members. But you have to stop and think when something like that occurs, they also cross over into being what's known as property, and that would be missing property, so they need to call.
As long as they have tags. They're considered, I think legally, they have to have a tag on it to be considered.
For dogs, cats
property.
do not have tags.
Yeah, cats don't have tags.
Cats do not have.
Something that would hinder one's ability to find, for example, a cat. There is no hold time out of the town for cats. If I'm a cat trapper and I bring a cat in today and there's maybe too many cats out there, or perhaps the one I'm bringing in falls either into a category where it's been injured, or if it is of an ill disposition. I think they can be pretty much put down that day because there is no hold time. I have one cat, he never goes outside, but if anybody were ever to catch him, well, people come to our house, he doesn't like anybody but me. And I know there are people that would find that impossible to believe, but it's the truth. He was very attached to my mother and to me. And anybody else, he is not at all friendly towards. In fact, I've had a complaint when the cable man was there fixing the cable, he claimed the cat was stalking him. This is a domestic, regular house cat. This isn't like some crossbreed that it wasn't going to eat him, it was just growling at him. But my concern would be if Tiger ever did get out, he wouldn't be pretty in a cage, and he wouldn't act friendly in a cage. And, you know, it would break my heart if he got taken out and they said, well, this cat's mean, feral, wild, whatever, and put him down. He's not feral. He just doesn't like very many people. So I would ask that you all please consider, and I realize you can't do anything today, that's fine. Please consider adding some kind of a hold time so that if cats do turn up out there, the owners have a few days to look and try to reclaim their pet. We got one for dogs, can't we have one for cats? Thank you.
It's a fair
Just to
question.
follow up, I did speak with Jan Cochran, the facility director at the Lewis Upshur Animal Control Facility, and they have 40 cat cages currently. There's probably space to put another 12 in. Right now, having 40 without a hold time, they have 2 empty cages. That was as of yesterday. So there are a high number of
Housing issues.
cats at the pound, yes. Now, there's a 5-day hold time for city cats, but not for county cats. But when I spoke with Jan, she said that the city trapper comes in and says these are feral cats, then they are able to put them down immediately. They do not have a hold time. So she was asking maybe if a 3-day hold could be considered, or something maybe a little less than 5 days because of the space
For
constraints.
for county cats.
For county cats. Currently, there's no hold time at all for county cats. And then she also asked if maybe it could be considered that if, you know, I have a farm and I know they're feral cats and I bring them in, can I sign a waiver stating that they are feral cats and I agree that they should be immediately put down? I know that that might not address your concern because anybody can catch a bunch of cats and say they were on my farm and put them down. So those are a few different things to consider, but we can work in coordination with Jan Cochran and.
Well, and some of us are maybe dreaming, but we would like to consider, and we've talked about it, we just haven't formulated a plan to start working on something called a TNR, which is trap, neuter, release. And that's where you go into a community, you catch the feral cats. Money's provided to get them altered. And then what they do is they take the tip off when they're altering them, the tip on the ear's niched, and that way if an animal control person's out, they see a cat parading about, oh, it's got its ear tip, it can't reproduce. Then they kind of leave them because let's face it, some people, it's easy to forget, but cats do have a place in the whole system. They take care of rodents, they take care of sick birds. They also have a tendency to dirty up people's flower beds, I know. But there is a place in the world for cats, and it would be nice if we could quit, and it would save the county money if we could quit putting down so many. But that's later on down the road. Right now, I just want, 3 days would be great. It's much better than nothing.
I was gonna ask how about 2 days, because I know if I lost an animal, I'd be on the phone every day calling the pound, did you get any new in today? Because there's some out there, I'm sure, that are very adoptable, and that's gonna move them out.
Well, and what's breaking my heart, you know, a lot of people are into pedigrees, even in cats. I am absolutely amazed at the number of Himalayans, Siamese, Persians, that I see photographs of out of our own county town that, like you said, are easily adoptable. Just like the dogs, you'll see pedigree dogs out there. And it makes you wonder, you know, where did this animal come from? You know?
Yeah. The only concern I would think might arise from a trap, neuter, and release program. About several years ago, we had a feral cat, came up to our area, and we put food out for it, but it carried a disease, which it spread to one of our cats, which was fatal. And I don't know, if you have a situation where you would release a cat back out after the procedure, that cat could still have some sort of sickness which it could spread to other cats, which, yeah.
I would think that, of course, if it had feline AIDS or leukemia,
I think it was feline AIDS was what was.
then something else would have to be considered. On an up note, I know somebody whose cat, well, it's not really their cat, it was a stray that they kind of, just let hang around, and they took him and got him fixed. And during that, they found out that he had AIDS, but the cat appears to be in great health otherwise. 5 years later, there's been no, other than its blood work, no indication that this is showing up. Now, once they're fixed, I don't think they can pass it. And for anybody that's reading the news or watching on TV3, feline AIDS is not the same as human AIDS. You cannot get it from a cat, nor can your dog get it. It's something strictly to cats. So, because I know that there has been that fear in the past as well. But like I said, my primary request would be that y'all consider, 5 days would be great, 3 days would be better.
You don't think 2 days would be enough? If you're
See, I'm like you. If it were one of mine, I literally would have either a tent or an RV. And I'd be at the gate to see everything that came in, except for when I was out looking.
I'm just thinking that that's plenty of time to call and see if they've gotten any new cats in, or one with your description that you could run out and check.
It can be considered. Or say, how can we be back asking for the third, well, going back for the 5, but yeah, I mean, like I said, at this point, I think just about anything would help. But I appreciate if y'all would discuss it and consider it, and maybe we would get someplace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further comments or further business before the commission? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there such a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.